Today in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Caru News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. But before I will go on my current topic today, I would like to inform you that today the country is celebrating Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's birth anniversary. Give me blood and I will give you freedom. Famous lines of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. January 23rd marks the birth anniversary of Subhash Chandra Bose, who is known for his immense role in India's freedom struggle. Popularly known as Netaji among his followers, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had founded the Indian National Army, Azad Hind Fauj, to fight the Britishers and make India free from their rule. Netaji Bose, who had also served as the president of Congress from January 18, 1938 to April 29, 1939, was known for his courage, leadership skills, and extraordinary oratory skills that inspired many to join the Indian National Army and fight for India's freedom. Media conference with Lal Goel wish you all on this very, very auspicious occasion. Now, coming to our main topic, the topic is booster dose versus precautionary dose. Booster, as per Cambridge Dictionary, is something that improves or increases something or makes it stronger. A small amount of a substance that is given to increase the effect of the same substance that was given sometime before to continue to protect a person from illness such as a polio, tetanus booster, or a booster jab or shot or vaccination or vaccine. A booster dose is an extra administration of a vaccine after an earlier dose. After initial immunization, a booster provides a re-exposure to the immunizing antigen. It is intended to increase immunity against that antigen back to protective levels after memory against that antigen has declined through time. For example, tetanus shot boosters are often recommended every 10 years, by which point memory cells specific against tetanus lose their function or undergo apoptosis. Israel first rolled out booster doses of the Pfizer biotech COVID-19 vaccine for at-risk population in July 2021. In August this year, this was expanded for the rest of the Israel population. In the United States, the CDC rolled out booster shots to immunocompromised individuals during the summer of 2021 and originally planned to allow adults to receive a third dose of the COVID-19 vaccine starting in September 2021. In September 2021, the UK's Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization recommended a booster shot for the over 50s and at-risk groups. Precautionary, as per Cambridge Dictionary, means intended to prevent something unpleasant or dangerous from happening. India started administering precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccine to health and frontline workers and people aged 60 and above with comorbidities from 10th January 2022 at a time when coronavirus infections in the country are on a steep upward trajectory. Amid growing debate worldwide over compulsory booster dose, National Technical Advisory Group of Immunization (NTAGI) Chief Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 𝐍𝐄𝐖𝐒 clarified that precautionary doses are different from booster doses. He also asserted that the role of an additional shot of COVID vaccine is yet to be ascertained, as countries like Israel, Germany, and others are seen opting for as high as 4 doses. He said there is a gap in understanding of the science behind such shots. Boosters are uniformly given to everyone, assuming that the immunity is becoming weak and a shot is needed to give a boost. However, a precautionary dose is given only to vulnerable sections as an additional dose because of the high risk of severe illness or high chances of reinfection. On being asked about India's booster strategy, Dr. Arora said that it will take another 2 to 3 weeks for experts to come to any definite understanding. Eric Topol, professor of molecular medicine and director of the Scripps Research Translational Institute in the US, noted that vaccine effectiveness drops to 52% against Omicron around 6 months after taking the second shot of a COVID-19 vaccine. However, a booster dose substantially increases immunity and lowers the odds of being hospitalized with COVID-19 infection. The protection offered by the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine declines after 3 months of receiving 2 doses of the preventive, according to a study published in the Lancet journal. The findings drawn from data sets in Brazil and Scotland suggest that booster programs are needed to help maintain protection from severe diseases in those vaccinated with AstraZeneca, known as Covishield in India. The researchers analyzed data for 2 million people in Scotland and 42 million people in Brazil who had been vaccinated with the AstraZeneca vaccine. The decline in effectiveness begins to first appear at around 3 months, when the risk of hospitalization and death is double that of 2 weeks after the second dose, they said. The researchers from Scotland and Brazil found that the risk of hospitalization and death increases threefold just short of 4 months after the second vaccine dose. Similar numbers were seen for Brazil, they said. Vaccines have been a key tool in fighting the pandemic, but waning in their effectiveness has been a concern for a while, said Professor Aziz Sheikh from the University of Edinburgh, UK. Our analysis of national data sets from both Scotland and Brazil suggests that there is considerable warning of effectiveness for the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, with protection against severe COVID-19 falling over time, said Professor Srinivasa Vital 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 from the University of Glasgow in the UK. Our work highlights the importance of getting boosters, even if you have had 2 doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine or Covishield, as soon as you are able to, said Professor Srinivas. Now, to discuss this very, very important point, that is booster dose or precautionary dose, which is better, and why the booster dose is not being given to Indian people, or whether the precautionary dose will be as effective as the booster dose, and all those. To discuss all these points, we have a very panel of very, very expert medical doctors who have vast experience, and they are the authority in this field. I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Dr. Dilip Singhvi. Dr. Dilip Singhvi is MBBS, MRCP, RCP, UK, MD, DIP, Type 2, DM, Boston School of Medicine, USA. He is the specialist of internal medicine and diabetes. He is the medical director of Apollo Hospital, Muscat. He is the recipient of Man of Excellence Award in 2017 for outstanding achievements in health and social services. He is a recipient of Jewel of Rajasthan Award in 2012. He has published several research papers in national and international journals of repute. He is one of the frontline COVID worker. Welcome, Dr. Dilip Singhvi on our show. Dr. Dilip Singhvi, today in India, we have seen that now the precautionary dose or the third dose has been rolled out from the 10th of January this month. And while mainly the other countries have started the booster dose from somewhere midsummer in Israel, otherwise in Europe and USA from September onwards. Now you are in Muscat, but you are well connected to India, and you know the Indian conditions also. So we would like to know what is the difference between booster and precautionary. So the topic as our topic, booster dose versus precautionary dose. Dr. Dilip Singhvi, please.
Good morning, everybody. everybody, and good morning, Mr. Lal and your team. Thank you for this opportunity once again for having me on the panel for discussion for such an important topic again. And as you said, I mean, boost now the hot topic is booster dose across the world, and you have wonderfully given the statistics of many countries. A word about what is the importance of a booster dose, which in simple layman terms, you have beautifully explained that over a period of time, the immunity of the vaccine goes down. And that's why we need to give a booster shot or maybe a precautionary shot. Now, it depends upon the virus to virus, which virus needs a booster shot, and some virus they do not. So just to make it more simple understanding for our audience, you know that chickenpox. Now, chickenpox is also a viral infection, but the immunity is lifelong. So you don't require a booster shot. 2 shots of chickenpox vaccine and that's it. But in case of coronaviruses, their behavior is somewhat like what we have for influenza virus. Now, I believe that most of our audience are familiar with influenza virus or the seasonal flu, which happens every year. And you know that every year it changes its type, every year the vaccine, because the immunity is not long lasting. The same case, similar scenario happens in coronavirus also, which we have been seeing over the last 2 years now. Now we are in the 3rd year of the pandemic, and what we have seen across the world, that every 3 months or 4 months there is a new antigenic variant. So the virus is changing its type, its characteristics, its virulence, its speed of transmission every 3 to 4 months. So the vaccine also has to be a dynamic vaccine. We cannot have a one single shot vaccine for this particular disease because it is changing its form. So the first come out with the vaccine, and they started rolling the vaccine from December 2020. If you remember, it started from UK. Now almost more than 1 year, what they have found out the research that after 3 to 4 months, the immunity or the effect of the vaccine starts to wean off. That's what the importance the importance lies, that we need to give another shot to boost this immunity so that the antibody titer remains acceptable in the blood of a patient, and in case he catches the coronavirus infection, he has adequate level of antibody to fight. So this is the basis that the company which has produced the vaccine has also done the research and told us and is telling us that our 2 shots of vaccine will give you a protection up to 6 months maximum. Some are saying 3 months, 4 months, depending upon the type of vaccine they have made and they are using. Now, if you ask me as a COVID, if they get a natural infection from the COVID virus, there also we have seen across the world, most of the research what is telling us that the immunity, the antibodies generated from the natural infection, the immunity lasts for around maximum of 6 to 7 months or 8 months. After that, it weans off. That vaccine has helped us to fight this disease, to bring down the transmission, to control this rapid transmission, and instead of putting lockdowns, as you remember in our last meeting also, Mr. Goel, can you see me and hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So as you had seen that we initially started with lockdowns to control this transmission, and now most of the countries are not going into a full lockdown, just a partial lockdown if needed as and when basis. But all of us are able to fight this disease with the vaccines. As you had remembered last meeting also, we had discussed that the future way forward is the vaccines. So vaccines are definitely needed in this disease. As I said, there is antigenic variation every 3 months. We never know. Now you see Delta finished, we got Omicron. Now we are fighting with Omicron. We never know, after down the line, another 2-3 months, another new variant comes. So the vaccine also has to be dynamic. We may probably probably require after a booster dose another fourth shot. As you said, Israel has already rolled it out because they were the first ones to give. UK and Israel were the first countries who had started the jabs. So for them, it's almost more than a year. So similarly, if you ask me in Muscat, we also started in December 2020, and we have almost covered more than 90%, 95% of the population here have got 2 doses of vaccine. Hardly less than 5% might be there with 1 dose or no, or without a vaccine. So maximum population has been covered with 2 doses of vaccine, and now we are also in the process of rolling out the booster dose since October 2021. Now you see the difference. Why I'm highlighting this is that initial guidelines here also was 6 months, that 6 months from the second dose. Now the guideline has changed to 3 months from the second dose, because when we started it was Delta. Now in this last 3-4 months, Omicron has taken over the Delta. Most everywhere across the world, mostly Delta is being replaced by Omicron, which has got even faster transmission than Delta. You just need 90 seconds of exposure to get the virus. So you can see how fast the transmission is. And if you see the data across the world, in fact, not even world, I will say India, you see the India data from India. Now also, most of the critical cases which are getting admitted to the hospitals and the deaths which are occurring in the unvaccinated, or maybe they've not got adequate protection, or maybe a single dose, or most of them, 75%, 70 to 80% of deaths in Delhi are in unvaccinated people. So you can understand the importance of this vaccination. And so is true for the booster dose. Now, those countries which have already completed their 2 doses of vaccines, like the ones you listed, who are the pioneers, who had started the jabs initially, they have almost completed more than 6 to 8 months of their second dose. For them, the booster dose is definitely indicated, and that's why these countries have already given this recommendation that please take the booster dose. Now in India, I think still sizable population has not completed second dose. There is a huge number which has completed the first dose. There are still some some part of population which has not completed the second dose. So there, what has happened is there is a mix and match which is happening. Now there, I think because people who have completed second dose, and again the healthcare workers and the people who are vulnerable, like sanitization workers, healthcare workers, emergency workers, who were the initial ones to be given the vaccines, and they were the ones who had voluntarily, taken 2 doses of vaccines. Because initially, if you remember, there was a little bit of protest against this. There was a little bit of doubts in the mind of people that whether we should go for the vaccines or not. But health workers were the first to get the vaccines. So these people, again, most of them have almost completed 7 to 8 months of their second dose. So they are definitely eligible for the booster dose. And that's what I think. So the government is again doing the same thing. They're rolling out the booster dose for the health workers, so that this vulnerable population of the subset of the population needs to be protected, because doctors are the ones who are going to again fight with the disease, whichever variation comes. So we need to protect our health workers to keep them safe, so that the population at large remains the same, safe, and we have people who can we have doctors who can save the people. So that's why booster is definitely for them. Now, people who as soon as they complete their second dose, after that there is a minimum gap of say 3 to 9 months, depending upon the vaccine which has been used. Now, India doesn't have Pfizer. They have Covaxin and Covishield as of now. So their recommendation, what India is following, is for Covaxin and Covishield, which is from 3 months to 9 months. India is right now following 9 months. Maybe as the people complete second dose, maybe the guidelines might change in future. Maybe they make it 6 months. Maybe it may not be put as a mandatory option. It might be put as an advisory or an optional thing. But my recommendation from my side is that we have seen that vaccine saves lives. Vaccines give you a milder form of disease. Mind you, it does not prevent infection. Please remove this misconception of your mind that the vaccine causes COVID. There are so many queries coming to us saying that we will get COVID positive PCR if we take the vaccine. So I want to highlight this issue also, that the vaccine does not give you COVID infection. it gives you antibodies to fight the COVID infection in case you catch. So take the vaccine, take the second shot if you have not taken. Then when the time comes, according to the recommendation of the country, take the booster. Till that time, if you are eligible for booster, take the booster. Or if you have a precautionary dose, the dose is same. There is no change in the dose. Since like I'm in Muscat, and this country, we had rolled out Pfizer first, and the Pfizer was the first company to give the recommendation. So we also started with Pfizer booster doses. Initially, everybody who wanted has got Pfizer. Now the recommendation for AstraZeneca vaccine has also come as for booster shots, and the country has started rolling that vaccine also. So we also have got 2 Pfizer and Covishield for booster dosing. And now the general acceptance is there, at least as far as Oman is concerned. And I can see in India also, there is now a big level of acceptance of vaccination. What was there initially, the initial fears have gone away. People have seen the effect that it can save lives, it can reduce the severity of the illness. So in my opinion, you should definitely go for the jab. Take the second jab if you have not taken. Take the booster shot if you are eligible for it, especially if you are a frontline worker or you are having comorbidities, multiple medical problems, you are in high risk category. Please take the booster jab. And please advise in all your friends, associated circles, that this vaccine is mandatory. And yes, it is little painful because we need to take repeated shots. As I told you, the way the virus is changing. So as long as the virus changes its forms, the vaccine boosters will have to be taken. It cannot be a one-time episode. It cannot be a one-time shot. Hopefully, you know, the way things are going, we may not see such a devastating wave, first wave and second wave, which we have seen in the last 2 years. Hopefully, the disease will be mild and we will not be forced to, you know, see that same kind of death rates and devastating wave, especially if we take the vaccines. That is the ammunition we have to fight this disease. So my request to everybody is, please take the booster jab, definitely. And wherever possible, whoever is not convinced, please counsel them and convince them to take this jab. It will help protect lives. Thank you, Mr. Lal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singhvi, for giving your views. And Dr. Singhvi clearly mentioned one thing, that as far as the booster or the precautionary dose are concerned, because the recommendations of the manufacturers, all the experts are that earlier it was 6 months, now it has reduced even to 3 to 4 months. Somewhere they say up to 6 months. But he says that's why the booster dose which are rolled out abroad, especially in UK, Israel and other countries, earlier than India. India has started now. And as for the figures, as he mentioned, I would like to inform my viewers that India is still facing a large vaccine shortfall. So far, only 69% adults are vaccinated completely, although the target was up to December 31st, which the government has given officially the target that they will 100% all the adults will be, this I am talking of the adults only, I am not taking the consideration of 15 to 18 years. And so the vaccination shortfall is 38% still is there. And according to the chart, which is updated as yesterday, rather 21st of April, the vaccine behind schedule in India is about 3 months and 21 days. It means it will take at least 3 months or almost 4 months more will take place. So February, March, April, May. So we will be completing the 100% vaccination by April, while the booster dose is already started, or I'm sorry, it's a precautionary dose already started. So what will be the, how India will be able to achieve this target, that we have to see, because we are going behind, as Dr. Singhvi very clearly mentioned, that this efficacy of the vaccines goes down drastically in case if we are not going to take the second or the booster or the personal dose in time. only thing is, because in India, expert here has given the figure time period gap of 9 months. As far as the first two and the second dose, also that time gap is about 84 days in India, which is in other countries it is 28 days, or mainly generally. So we have to discuss this point in the next round. Why so much difference with the same product, same technology, same vaccine, why in India we are giving that much time. And as Dr. Arora has mentioned in my report which I mentioned, there is a lot of difference between booster and precautionary dose. So we have to understand whether booster dose is better or the precautionary dose is better. That also we will take up in the next round when I will come back to Dr. Dilip Singhvi again. Thank you, Dr. Dilip Singhvi, for giving and enlightening all of us. Now, I would like to go to my next panelist guest, and he is Dr. Brahm Prakash. Dr. Brahm Prakash is the former medical superintendent, All India Institute of Medical Science, Rishikesh. He did MBBS in 1977 from KGMC, Lucknow. He did MD Pediatrics in 1995 from SN Medical College, Agra. PG DIP HM in 1997 from University of New England, Armidale, NSW, Australia. Strategic Management in 2014 from ISB, Hyderabad. He did PhD Medicine in 2001 from Bundelkhand University. He also did International Observership in 2019 from Harvard Medical School, Teaching Hospital, Boston and Children's Hospital, Boston, and Massachusetts, USA. His specialization is in pediatric neurology and hospital administration. He has written several books and his research papers published in reputed national and international journals. Welcome, Dr. Brahm Prakash, on our show. Dr. Brahm Prakash, you have heard, heard what Dr. Dilip Singhvi has mentioned. Yeah. And as you know, that Dr. Dilip Singhvi is in Muscat. From his heart is, and he's from India only, so he knows India very well. And in our earlier program, he has mentioned very clearly how he's even consulting patients from India online, and he has given the view what is happening abroad, how they are rolling out the vaccine in Israel. So now they are starting the fourth shot, while in India we are still in the precautionary vaccine, which has started recently about 15 days or 13 days back. Now, topic is same, booster dose versus precautionary dose. Your views, Dr. Brahm Prakash, please.
Thank you, Dr. Lal, for giving me the opportunity to interact with the audience and the very, very eminent medical faculty here. It's wonderful to interact with you. As far as precautionary dose versus booster dose, I think it's a very, very intelligent step on part of Indian government, in the sense that you are giving precautionary dose to the frontline workers, to the doctors, to all the healthcare workers in the hospitals, and those vulnerable group who are above 60 and having comorbidities. Actually, we know that the Omicron is having upsurge in the country, and lots of people are suffering with Omicron infection. When infection is going on at large in the society and you give a vaccination dose, hyperinflammatory response can be there. And that can lead to hesitancy in the vaccination, because people will have hyperinflammatory response, will have more symptoms, more problems. So the better part is that all those people, to give them confidence to fight with the disease in the hospitals, when they are dealing with the patients and the above 60 people who are more vulnerable, to give the vaccination first is a very, very intelligent step. And secondly, underlying thing is this: it will remove the hesitance in the subsequently when the booster dose will be offered to the public at large. What we are seeing today is that, of course, I agree that we have got Covaxin and Covishield only, but at the same time, the second dose, the waning antibodies are there, but at the same time T cell will take over. To some extent, what I have seen in India and Delhi and around is that whosoever has taken vaccination, he has got Omicron. The symptoms has been there, mild fever has been there, sometimes rigor has been there, but 7th day onwards they are fine. Mortality is very, very less. morbidity is very less in the patients who have got 2 doses of vaccination. Now I will appreciate whosoever the policy makers are there and on the government part listening to them and acting on that scientific line is that first give this precautionary dose to the healthcare workers, to the 60 and above population who have got comorbidities, and subsequently, because it's a large population, India is not like UK or Israel, you can cover with months. No, it's a very large demographic population. So you have to cover large population, 69%, maybe 69%. It's a very large number. You have covered a very large number of the society. It's a huge achievement. So I think on my part, that's a very intelligent step to call it precautionary dose, to give it to the frontline workers and to the vulnerable population first. And then it's question of availability also. It requires a lot of human resource to implement this program. It's a huge program, maybe one of the biggest in the world. So I will appreciate the way we are going in India.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Brahm Prakash, for giving your views. And Dr. Brahm Prakash is of very clear and strong views that what government of India has done, they have taken a very wise step by introducing the precautionary dose for the health workers or those who are at high risk and the 60 plus and the comorbid. And according to him, that if people are vaccinated, then the Omicron effect is very less, and 7th day the patient is totally perfect. But I will be definitely, when I will come in the next round, I will like to know why the 9 months, why it was not given after 6 months as recommended, earlier recommended by all the medical experts. So that we will discuss in the next round, and why it is called precautionary, why it was not called booster. There is a difference, or it's just a nomenclature of the thing that we will discuss in the next round. But thank you very much, Dr. Brahm Prakash, for giving your very strong and clear views. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Dr. Rashmi Kundapur. Dr. Rashmi Kundapur is the Additional Professor, Department of Community and Family Medicine, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad. She completed MBBS in 2001 and MD in 2006 at JJM Medical College, Devangri, Karnataka, with first class. She has 75 publications with H index 11 and I 10 index 9 with 789 citations, publications with impact factor ranging from 0.51 to 4.53. She has more than 30 presentations in various state, national, and international conferences. She is the editor for IAPSM textbook of preventive and social medicine, published in 2019 and second edition in 2021. She has given more than 32 guest lectures and trainings. She was invited speaker for 3 international conferences and 8 national conferences and workshops. In 31st National Conference of 2004, she won Young Female Scientist Award. She was awarded Young Scientist Award by 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔, K-A-C-H, in 46th Conference in Manipal by Karnataka Association of Community Health in year 2011. In 46th National Conference of 2018 IAPSM, she was awarded Presidential Appreciation Award. In 47th National Conference 2019, she was awarded with Fellowship in Preventive and Social Medicine, FIAPSM. She has completed 3 funded projects as co-investigator. She has completed 7 funded projects as principal investigator and currently 1 ongoing. She was secretary for IMA Mangalore 2019 to 2020. Welcome, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur on our show. Before you have joined Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, Dr. Dilip Singhvi mentioned very clearly that because he is the medical director of Apollo Hospital, Muscat. So he is very clearly mentioned how the vaccinations are given abroad, and earlier it was after 6 months, but now they are recommending even after 3 to 4 months, because they say that the efficacy is going down, and especially as per the report which I read, the Covishield, the AstraZeneca efficacy is going down after the 3rd month of the 2nd dose. Now in India, we have started our vaccination program after the 9th month of the 2nd jab, who has taken the 2nd vaccination. And it is termed as a precautionary vaccine, not as a booster vaccine. And I read in my report earlier that the booster is which boosts the thing. Like in layman's thing, I can explain that we used to have earlier a booster pump in our house where they suck the water and throw to the higher places. Similarly, they says that the booster is which increase the, it boosts the immunity if already efficacy is there. But if efficacy is down, then booster cannot work. So that's why I think the government, this is my view, but I'm sure that you will be highlighting more. That's why the government has termed it as a precautionary, not as a booster dose. Now we would like to know your views. But before that, if you can turn your mobile in a horizontal position, Dr. Kundapur, please. Yes, please. Good. So, and is it on the table? Just stabilize it because it's a live telecast. Yeah. So, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, booster dose versus precautionary doses. Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, please.
So right now you gave up 2-3 issues very clearly, saying that how has it been done in various countries, various other countries, and what's about in our country, and why we call it as a precautionary and not the booster. Some things what you said was very clear. Booster dose enhances the immunity. So the basic concept of a booster dose should be that you have certain level of immunity and then you enhance over it. Sometimes if there is a complete immunity, like there is nothing to be enhanced, there is an already there, then you don't need a booster dose. Now the question coming up is 3 to 4 months, the vaccine is, you can see that it is reducing and multiple things. As Dr. Brahm Prakash has very clearly mentioned, ours is a nation which has a lot of population all over the country and not everybody has been vaccinated. And everybody cannot be fully vaccinated. This is the issue we all have to know. Compared to any other nations, we have a large population. And whatever said our numbers of people have been tested and whatever the numbers we say as the people who have been affected, we still have. And I think when we started the talk about this COVID, quite 1.5 years back, I was very clearly saying only few people will come to the hospital. Only few people will say there is underlying there is an iceberg phenomena. There is a large chunk of people below the water, which has not even been seen, who can be affected because it does not affect an individual, particularly as a large amount of disease. So looking into the population what we have and looking into the approach of a number of people tested and all other things which is happening, we would have had a lot of cross immunity by cross infections earlier all over the country. Now, what is our immunity status? How is our immunity status has not been tested, including for the healthcare workers. Even the healthcare workers, unless individually they have done it, otherwise it has not been tested what is our immunity level. Now, should we say that we are fully immunized? Should we say that it is a booster, primary immunization is complete, we have so much of immunity for primary immunization to go for booster dose, or we do not need a booster? You need to know your immunity level, which has not been done, and it's not been possible to do for the government at any cost of level. So yes, after 6 months, another dose is given as a booster dose in many of our country, including that in which has been probably said, and many other places, because the immunity is decreasing, they're giving much earlier also. Now, this you come to know whether the immunity of an individual, again, depends upon when the person is taken. If you see the Covishield, which was started earlier, was said to have, initially they were giving 4 weeks differences for healthcare workers. And then the studies came up to say that it needs at least 8 to 12 weeks difference. So the 4 weeks which was given would not have given a complete immunity, whereas the people who have got it for 3 months, that is for 12 weeks, would have got a better immunity. Now, after 9 months, why are we? And also I said there is a cross immunity which has already been developed because of a lot of infections which has already been prevailing in India, which may not have been seen. If you have seen, even after the first dose, even after the second dose, many healthcare workers, many elderly have also suffered COVID. So it's not a complete immunity as such, and they would have got. Now you ask that whether the disease causes a permanent immunity, that has also not been completely proven, but it is shown that after a disease, you have a better immunity than the immunization. So you look like you have a disease and then you have a better immunity depending upon your body structure, because it's a type of flu, and you have a better immunity, and vaccination itself at the interval you have taken would have had a different immune status. Now, to call it as a booster dose, for example, when we say it is a TT as a booster dose, we know after first and second, it's 68%. After the third, it becomes 92%. And then after the fourth, it becomes 99%. Now in India, we cannot claim it that we are going in that phases only because of varied occurrence in varied region. So when the Omicron had come in as a, we would get a rise in Omicron, though we knew Omicron was not so dangerous as what we were expecting earlier, but there was, and the fear to, there was also a fear that all the people could have been had an issue about this Omicron. So the term has come in as a precautionary dose, means it may be a booster, it may not be a booster, or it may remain as a continued immunity. You understood that it may not boost, but it may just a continued immunity, or it may not have an effect only if you have had a good cross immunity or a disease by itself and it is not effective. Now, why 9 months is again because this was given as a precautionary to Omicron. Earlier, we believed that first we do the immunization for all the people, and then we think of booster, because booster, we start as a booster. The people with primary immunization will be left out. That's why we didn't say, and we were expecting there could have been a cross immunity all over, and that cross immunity in the country will, that's how in India it happens with the for communicable diseases, will bring in immunity as such. And if you have seen, a lot of people said that already India is going for an endemic status as compared to the most of the Western country, and we may not have an effect as similar to the Western countries. So booster was not a needed period of time. But when Omicron came in and there was a fear which could have been. So we cannot call it a booster unless we know what is the immunized states of an individual everywhere, including a healthcare or a elderly. And the people in need had to be given something precautionary, which definitely would make a difference in the hospitality, like admission into hospital. That was our whole part of it, admission to the hospital and mortality. Though it may not completely stop, but it will decrease the mortality, for which it was called a precautionary dose. If somebody would have done their immune status, looked into and had some part of 60% immune already and taken the dose, this booster, or 80% and then taken the boost, definitely it becomes a booster dose, same precautionary. But when we have not done it as a general rule, then it remains as a precautionary dose, because we are expecting another epidemic. I don't say it as, of course, it's a pandemic only, but pandemic is also a part of epidemic. Another epidemic of this pandemic coming in, we are giving as a precautionary to avoid the hospitalization and to avoid the mortality in the country. So that is the reason in India, it was called as a precautionary dose, so that all over the country, people take it. Say that not it as a primary dose, or I do not have an immunity, so you take. And some people, if you have seen, would have also taken the only first dose. If you remember, even the measles, we had something called as a, not even, we said that as a measles campaign, not as a booster measles, because MMR campaign was done. Because in India, we are not sure how many have already taken a second dose. People would have taken, but we are not very sure. So at least to boost in one dose, it was called as a precautionary dose as such. That's the reason I would say that this is called as a precautionary dose and the status of the immunization. And definitely this will help. And what you're saying for other countries is an ideal status. But if you know, recently we were working on vaccine hesitancy. A paper will be coming into, people have done an individual vaccine hesitancy. We have seen a lot of papers and we have gone into biometrics to see the vaccine hesitancy. If you see all over the country, till July, August, there was vaccine hesitancy in a large amount of pills. So we cannot call it a booster dose because there is already a vaccine hesitancy. A lot of people have not taken the doses. And then we call it as, now with the fear of Omicron, people would have gone. So that's why we say it as after the 9th month, we are taking that, so that if you see that 9th month is taken from the, not from the, correctly from this, they are saying it of the second dose. Most of the people who have taken within that 4 weeks have taken that. So that is the reason we are giving it as a precautionary 4 weeks, or who have taken within 8 weeks. For people who have completed that 8 weeks, wouldn't have had, because we were expecting in September, most of the cross immunity would have developed and they do not need a precautionary dose. But it is not basically in the working environment. If you look into elderly with all the comorbidities are not being said no, even though if they come after 6 months. But 6 months is mandatory be taken. After 6 months, it's not said no. But it has been said mandatory for people who have taken for nine months. So that's the reason it is not a general rule to be boosted, but it is a precautionary dose as called in.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, for explaining why in India it is called precautionary dose, because booster dose is always like she mentioned about after 6 months, but because we are a vast country and we all have across infections which are happening, or we can say, in other words, the herd immunity. Dr. Kundapur, is the correct word to use, that herd immunity? Yes, which you used earlier in my conference, I still remember. So that herd immunity, because many people got the infection, and that's why the government decided to give after, because when they saw the Omicron is coming in a very big way, that's why this precautionary dose has been given. And according to her, in India, lots of vaccine hesitancy is there, and that is a very big problem. And to overcome that, to say that we are giving the booster dose, but while the many people have not taken the vaccine at that time after 6 months, now still 31% people have not yet been vaccinated, fully vaccinated in India. Only 69% are fully vaccinated. And as per the data available up to 21st of January, it will take 3 months and 21 more days. If everyone will go in a proper way, then we will be able to vaccinate fully. So what will be happening and how, whether it will be any effect will be there or not, that we will discuss in the next round of my questions, when I will ask the questions to you. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my last but not the least panelist guest with her, and he is Dr. Kapil Rathi. Dr. Kapil Rathi is the medical director and consultant of My Health Clinics, Mumbai. He is a consultant physician and COVID physician working as frontline warrior in this pandemic. He is MBBS, MD medicine and diploma in chest medicine. He also did diploma in infectious disease. He has been actively involved in COVID management of patient and taken almost more than 50 CMEs on COVID in last 6 months for various organizations. Welcome, Dr. Kapil Rathi on our show. Dr. Kapil Rathi, you have heard all the earlier panelists, Dr. Dilip Simbi, Dr. Brahm Prakash, as well as Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, and they have given their views very, very clearly. One reason is coming, common reason is coming, that India is a vast country. We cannot cover the entire population, and that's why it is called precautionary dose we are giving now. How many are going to take? That is also a very big question mark, because what my experience and my informations which I am gathering from those centers which are now giving this precautionary dose, still people are not coming in that way which they are supposed to come. So the hesitancy that Dr. Rashmi Kundapur mentioned, even for this precautionary dose is also there. We would like to know from you the booster dose versus precautionary dose. Dr. Kapil Rathi, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Goel, for inviting, and thank you all the panelists. In fact, you have learned, you have seen and you have heard a lot about all these things. So I am being a student of medicine and practicing in the community and seeing patient upfrontly. So this question about booster and precaution dose is something which I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties of that, but it is as simple as that. Even after getting booster or precaution, you will still get a breakthrough infections which are going on. So whether you take it or not take it, you are going to get Omicron. Omicron is that variety. It is like a fire in the jungle. So it is going to be there. In fact, all people who have taken so-called Pfizer and take booster or third or fourth, they are still getting Omicron. So what is a precaution dose or what is a booster dose? So it doesn't matter much, but it matters most in India, because India being a diversified country, it's a population of 140 crore. So you can't have, booster dose, because you can't call it booster dose. So it's as Dr. Brahma Prakash was saying, it's a strategic thing which government has rolled out just to make sure that all the 80-90 crore who have taken second dose will not rush for a booster dose, because you want to vaccinate first all the people in the continuity. If you take booster, that it becomes a mandatory. Once you call it precaution, then it becomes a precaution for so-called that category, which are more than 60 years of age, frontline workers, medical workers, or people who have got multiple medical issues. So this was the whole idea of getting the so-called the third shot. Like if you ask me anything, once there is a schedule of any vaccine, you take any vaccine in the world. Once you got first dose, second dose, उसके बाद में आप जो भी देते हैं, whatever you give it, it is a booster dose. You can't call it as a precautionary dose. But as in India, because there are so many logistic issues, so many resources issues, so that's why government had played it very safely and has given to the people who needed it most, because we are going to handle the large chunk of the population, because we are getting 3.5 to 4 lakh official and probably 15 to 20 lakh cases per day. In a city like Mumbai, where I come from, in last 15 days, the figures were like 20-30,000 per day, which was official, and practically 3 times more. People were testing so much at home. People were doing so much. And believe me, most of them were second dose. Most of them have taken probably third dose who have come from abroad, and still they were getting Omicron. So there was a lot of breakthrough infections which was happening. So that's why, so to cut down your debate, very, very simplified, booster and precautionary are more or less same if you ask me in a nomenclature. But in India, it is called precautionary because of the logistic issue, because of the vulnerable population. They want to cover it first and then slowly roll out to whole of the India, so that everyone get vaccinated. And probably we all know we are going to get COVID. COVID is going to be the part of our life. We are going to get COVID every year, probably shot, jabs will be given every year. So we are all planning to have a combination of flu vaccine and COVID vaccine together to get an yearly shot, so that we get prevented. And we all know why Omicron has come up, because of the more than 40 mutation in spike protein in the Delta variant. And what all vaccine we have got, it basically was for more of a Delta, or the first the variant which has come in 2019 from Wuhan. So the system will always work after the virus has come. The vaccine will always be developed after the virus has come. So that's why you need to have something to boost up that immunity. We all know our humoral immunity or antibody dependent immunity wanes off after 3 to 6 months or 9 months, whatever the data says. But your cell mediated immunity, your T cells are always primed up, and probably they are taking care in this way, not actually the B cell immunity. That is what we all feel. And that is where. So if you don't take booster also, still you will get Omicron, which is mild. If you take booster also, still you will get Omicron, which is mild. So that doesn't matter much in this virus for Omicron, but it's going to matter for another, probably epsilon, which will come in future or whatever. So the thing is that you will require a booster dose to boost up your immunity, because after 6 months they go to sleep. Your B cells go to sleep. You have to wake them up with the shot so that they are ready to fight out with whatever is there. But yes, it is called precautionary for the population who are more vulnerable to prevent. That doesn't take out that factor. Doctor साहब बहुत लोग पूछते हैं सर हमने booster लगा हमको होगा कि नहीं होगा? आपको होगा. That is for sure. But whatever you will get is a milder form. There was a wonderful article which has just come yesterday in JAMA, in Journal of Medical Association, where they have said that if you take a proper shots, if you take a proper 3 shots, then your hospitalization and death decreases by 90%, whether it is Delta, whether it is Omicron. So in a population which was controlled, it was to the tune of 60% versus 6 to 8% in a group which was vaccinated with at least 3 doses. So that is how it is. So that is the basis of giving the shots again and again. So what they have found out, and probably in India, because we are exposed to so much of respiratory viruses, we have got a lot of cross immunity, and probably our system is more exposed to that kind of viruses, which are like a flu virus or upper respiratory viruses, so that we get our immunity lasts a little more longer as compared to probably the Western population. So probably that was one of the reasons that the 9 months was selected. And I think it is more to do with logistics, more to do with resources, more to do with diversified population, more to do with, completing first, second dose to all the population and then go for a booster, which is a mass vaccination. That's why they have created a precautionary word for the people who are more vulnerable, and so that at least they can be ready or they can have that immunity to fight for the rest of the people. So that is what is my take on booster versus precautionary. So this is how it is now, but probably things will change in future, maybe a couple of months. And with more vaccines coming up, almost 8 vaccines coming up in India, so probably a single shot. So, and probably the cross vaccination, which will be there. Now, why India has not also released the cross vaccination? Because our 70 to 80% population is basically vaccinated with Covishield. So if you want to give a third dose as a co-vaccine, there are no vaccines available. So that's why Government of India said that you have to continue with whatever dose you have taken initially. We don't have Pfizer or Moderna, plus government can't pay on its own. It's a very costly vaccine, so people have to take. Probably that will again become a little issue. So that's why the same dosing for the previous 2 vaccines was considered as a third dose, as a precautionary or booster. And probably after a couple of months, what I heard is basically the things are going to change a little bit, and probably you will have this mix and match or cross vaccination, which is actually we have gone through the data. It is much more better as compared to the same dose. But as of now, we have to follow whatever Government of India is giving us. So that is my take on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kapil Rathi. And Dr. Kapil Rathi, in a very, very simple way, explained very clearly one thing, that because of the vast, although everyone has mentioned, but he says because of the logistic problems, because of the shortage of vaccine, because we could not procure the Pfizer and other mRNA-based vaccine. That's why that 9 months, and this is only to be given precautionary to those who are on the risk, like health workers or those above 60 with the comorbid. And he says whether you take it or not, this Omicron is such which is going to be infecting everyone, and it's going to be a mild one. If you have taken 2 vaccines, you are safe enough. But precautionary vaccine, according to him, the name has been given because if it would have been booster dose, if it would have given earlier, but now 9 months because of the logistic things. And he says next variant which may come, if it will come, then next type of vaccine will be given. So everything has been decided at the time of what type of vaccine is coming. Thank you very much. The infection is coming, the variant is coming. Thank you very much, Dr. Kapil Rathi, for giving your very clear views. Now I would like to ask Dr. Dilip Singhvi, are you there? Dr. Dilip Singhvi, are you there, please? Okay. Yeah, he's there.
Yes, Mr. Lal, I'm here.
Okay, Dr. Dilip Singhvi, my question to you is, you have heard what everyone has spoken, and one thing is very, very clear, that because of the logistic things, because the vaccine shortage, I will say in a very straight words, the government failed to provide the second or the second jab in time. That's why the gap between 28 days to 84 days has increased. Everybody knows that, at least the medical expert knows, that this is because of the shortage of vaccine. Timely vaccines were not available. Otherwise, all other countries for the same AstraZeneca or Covishield vaccine, Britain also, UK also increased that gap because they were also facing the same problem earlier. Now they've decreased the gap there also. And now 9 months, after 9 months, when already the first 2 vaccines in the antibodies or immunity has already gone down drastically. So when this is the situation today, what we have taken today as a dose, are we going to have another dose after 28 days or 84 days whatsoever to keep the immunity, or this dose will work for at least next 1 year? Dr. Singhvi, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Lal. It's a very good question. See, first of all, I've heard all the panelists, and it's a very good opportunity to interact and hear them. And I do agree with them and all 3 of them that because India is such a large country and such a huge population to manage, you put all the 3 continents together, Europe, South America, and America, and still India has more population. So yes, partly government has failed. They were not able to provide, whatever the reason are, we all know. But we are actually catering to a large population, which is 140 crores. Now, the question is, if you put a gap of 9 months, this is my understanding, because if you see the data and research, the best data and research what we can get is from two places: either the manufacturer gives or the clinical trials we do. Now, as I said in the first round also, that the natural infection, whether it is Delta, Omicron, or any natural COVID-19 infection, the natural immunity lasting is also for 6 to 8 months. It's not more than, we have got people who are infected after 1 month also, but that are little few rare cases. But mostly after 6 to 8 months, we are back into square one, as far as the antibody levels are concerned, as far as the immunity is concerned. So now what has happened is, if you give a jab after 9 months of the second dose, we are practically now revaccinating the person. So I think that's why the nomenclature, as you said, it's just a nomenclature. You cannot use the word booster. What are you boosting? You need to boost which is there something, na? So practically after 9 months, the immunity is almost gone. So what will you boost? So you need to revaccinate the person. So either probably now the problem is, it's a big logistic problem in India. You are short on the second dose. You have not, as you said, the data 31% are still short of the second dose. So you have to cater to that second dose. Then the people, the special category people, the health workers, the 60 plus people, they've already finished 1 year from January to January. January 21 to January 22, they've already finished 1 year. So that size of population also comes into the board for the booster jab. So it's very unlikely for any government to cater to this amount of population. That's why they have probably, the government has put a thought process into it. They pulled out a midway, some sort of a bridge gapping parting the gap, that okay, we cannot give it at 3 to 6 months. Let us increase the time. But if, in my opinion, if they give 2 jabs, again, at a distance of say 28 or whatever the feasibility provides, whatever the feasibility is there for the government to do, they should need to take 2 jabs now. Okay. It cannot be called booster. How can you call it a booster? Because the booster is for something which is already there in the system. Then only you can boost. If the system is almost near to zero, what will you boost? That's why they have called it as a precautionary, because the moment you say booster, you'll have a mad rush again, which the government cannot cater to. Because all those who have finished, your 69% of population which has finished the second jab will be eligible. And okay, as Dr. Kapil said, I agreed, booster is almost a mandatory jab, precautionary is optional. So they have left it to the people who want to take. Obviously, we as health workers, we know what is happening. So most of the health worker will go and take the 3rd jab. Most of the people who have seen COVID, in and out for the last 2 years will go and take the 3rd jab. The population will take its time to understand this. Again, for the 3rd jab. That will give time for the government also to procure more vaccines, and the feasibility will be there. So for me, it's just a part of logistic part and a nomenclature play, nothing else. Because the dose is same. It's the same dose. There is no difference in dose. See, if you see 5 to 11 years of age group, the dose is half. Even the Pfizer dose is half. It's not the same dose. That's why, see, even we are holding in Muscat, we don't have. We have already recommended, the ministry has recommended 5 to 11 years to be given, but we don't have the vaccine because it's a half dose. We have only the full adult dose. So here they are giving after 3 months. It is the same shot which was used in first dose, which was used in the second dose. It is the same shot. Okay. It is called boosting the antibody titer fall to 0. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Singh. It is booster. Yeah. In my opinion, two jabs should be given. Okay. Or I would request all the health workers, please take 2 jabs. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Singhvi, for giving your views very clearly. I will go to Dr. Brahm Prakash now. Dr. Brahm Prakash,
Now you have heard everyone, and Dr. Singhvi also. You were saying about that the government has done a very good job about the giving this precautionary thing. In my opinion, it is not a good job by the government. Rather, it is a something which is what I can say the government has not given the clear picture to the public at large. And to say one thing, that it is 140 crores population, which we term, everybody knows, not from now, from the very beginning. Why to blame the population? It is a management. If we cannot blame the population for everything, you know very well what is the situation today of the country. All other countries, if it is a small country, their resources are small. Our country is big country. We have to manage everything. So don't you think it's a failureness of the government? Now what Dr. Singhvi has mentioned very, very clearly, that you require 2 doses, not 1 dose. Now, when we are facing so much crisis, even for this 3rd dose or the 2nd dose, how we are going to have the 4th dose? What do you say about this, Dr. Bharan Prakash?
I will say 2 points I will tell you. That, Omicron is like a wildfire spreading across the nation. Am I clear to you, Dr. Goel?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
The Omicron is spreading like a wildfire across the country. And you may or may not test everybody, but it is, I mean, you can take almost 30, 40 times more than the reported figures. I know the people sitting in Haryana, they don't have access to the testing. Even if they are very enlightened people, they know it. But at the same time, when the infection is, what is happening is that when you got an infection, active infection, the recommendation is you take the immunization after 3 months. Okay. Why it is there is that hyperimmune response can be there, and it can lead to myocarditis. You understand? It can lead to myocarditis. Now, when it is like a wildfire, you don't know who had active infection till last week, taking the dose today, and goes into the myocarditis. We are by side effect. We don't know what is government able to do or what is government is not able to do, because government is doing whatever is possible in the given resources. No government in the world is trained to handle this pandemic. So this is the first time they are facing this. After 1920, the pandemic has come after 100 years. Nobody surviving of that time. In that time also, if you see in the history, in 1920, a mild variant came. And that's how this pandemic gave way. The Omicron, the best part is that the study has come from South Africa, that this Omicron is giving protection against Delta in the people who are vaccinated. It's a wonderful thing. Maybe the nature is helping us out. Wherever the human effort cannot compensate, sometimes the nature come to rescue. And it is finally, I tell you, the nature will take out us from this pandemic, out of this. In India also, when you are not able to give food 2 times to the people, so how you can see that the booster dose, this and then 4 dose like Israel will come? No, it will not come. But at the same time, we have done well, and this is a benefit which has come maybe by chance, that like a wildfire Omicron is going on, you give somebody this thing, immunization, hyperimmune is there, myocarditis may be there, you may damage more. And in this Omicron, I tell you, even if people are calling it milder, I have seen myself cases where tachycardia is there. That means the heart rate is increasing. That means there is some inflammatory response on the cardiac. I tell you, it's not that simple. Every case in Omicron is not simple. Second thing is that as far as why precautionary dose is being given is because the people have to by force fight from the front. It's like sending somebody on the front without a protection or bulletproof jacket. So you have to equip them. We have to psychologically boost them to fight for it. That you have got a precaution dose. Now you have to tackle these patients. So I think it's an intelligent step, seeking our resources, seeing our condition, our population, and seeing this wildfire like infection. This infection, I tell you, is giving us protection from the Delta, which is more deadly. So I think what government is doing, I think government is doing on the advice of scientists only. Nobody in the ministry or minister or whatever, they don't know. But anyway, I think it's a good step.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Brahm Prakash. My question now goes to Dr. Rashmi Kundapur. Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, this is a fortune, or it's a God wish that we have the Omicron. Suppose a new variant will come tomorrow. We don't know, God forbids, which is as deadly as Delta. Now it means Indians are again vulnerable, because as Dr. Dilip Singhvi clearly mentioned that you require now 2 doses minimum for antibody to be developed and this thing, then what is going to happen? So whatsoever we have done till last 2 years or 1 year of the vaccination program, that will go in the water, because if we don't have the immunity, and right now the Omicron, as Dr. Rathi said, whether vaccinated or the booster or no precautionary dose, you will get the Omicron, and mild, it will be mild. But if the fourth wave will come with some strong virus or mutant, what is going to happen? Again, we have to see the same conditions what we have seen last year. So many deaths, so many shortage of oxygen and hospital beds, etc. What you say about this, and what is the solution? See, the thing is, ultimately we will blame always 140 crore. Everybody knows 140 crores. If you have a family and if you have 8 persons or 6 persons, and if you blame I have a 6 person, how I can handle my family, that you should have known, and you should have done it, plan it accordingly. So to blame us, the public at large, that we are 140, no doubt about it. One has to manage. When we can have a central vista spending 20-30,000 crores, we have so many things that we are doing. Why we cannot spend money on this? Because as you know very well, that this variant will come and go and come and go. But if any variant will come more deadly than Omicron, then what is going to happen? Dr. Rashmi Kundapur.
Sir, I think from 1.5 years, and as into a community medicine, now as a public health person, I've been repeatedly saying that pandemic or any virus coming into has its own way of approach, and it goes on. Variants, like Dr. Brahm Prakash very clearly said, that when there is a variation, that is a nature which acts on. So as the continued effects of pandemic continues, we may have still, but the variants will not have. If you see that, again, I'm talking about the herd immunity or the immunity across, the variants will work in very milder way as approach. We may have another virus. I told you last time also, another virus, which may not be COVID-19, another virus or a total variant, which even the developed country which has given multiple doses may not been protected. And if you have seen Europe and UK, which said that they have done so much of vaccination, had multiple levels of immune responses, and Omicron is typically for this. We did not have that effect as compared to other countries, because again, I'm saying, you said, yes, we know we are 140 crores, but that is in two-way. It's also an advantage. Imagine that is the reason many of our communicable diseases, we are exposed to so much of respiratory diseases, we are exposed to so many of things. So we do not have an effect what is seen in most of the other countries. We may blame it to say that numbers is not shown, numbers are reduced, there are much of this, medias may show that. But also remember, including me from last, I would want to very clearly say, I was a frontline worker from the day one I've been not affected with COVID-19 by a single time, including the first time, even if the gap of 9 months or whatever it is. Whereas like that, even many healthcare workers have not been affected as a frontline workers, whereas in many of the countries, most of our own batchmates who were there have been affected, because the cross immunities as such is reduced. And so as a pandemic has a cycle which goes, and all of us know from the history of pandemicity, what happens in first wave, what happens in second wave, and there is a reduction in third wave, and if there is a fourth wave, it comes down. 1918 pandemic or earlier pandemics also very clearly says the high peak is always in a second wave, and then the peak grows on, decreases if it is COVID-19 by itself. We may get multiple other viruses. I am not saying yes or no about it, but that every country has to face the same manner. But for this would be the matter. And coming up to saying that if we have to give a booster dose, we have not been immunized appropriately, the whole part of it, the immune system in a country, in our country, works very differently always because of that can be again boon of 140 crores or the boon of that herd immunity. Even in polio, we could see how the other country dealt and how we dealt were so totally so different, and still we could eliminate or we could eradicate polio in a very different manner as compared to other countries. Yes, it took time. I agree it took time, but still we could do it in a different manner. That is how our country as such caters, or our country as such manages. And every country will have its own way to manage.
Okay.
If you know even the so that is how our country will also manage it.
Can I
and
take a
also
leave?
come out.
I have
Okay.
a
Also
clinic
come
now.
out.
So thank you very much, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur. Yes, Dr. Singhvi, you are saying something?
Can I take a leave? I have a clinic now.
Okay. Can
Is it
I
okay?
ask a last question from you? Then you can leave. Dr. Singhvi,
Yeah,
are you
sure.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Now
sure.
my last question, because you are leaving. First thing is this mix and match booster dose, which is happening in other countries, and they says that it is better. Like if you have a AstraZeneca, you go for a booster dose of a mRNA or Pfizer or Moderna. Do you think it is advisable? Because the research says that it is advisable. In India, it is not. So again, we are in the square one position. Again, we will blame that we are 140 crores. Although Dr. Rashmi Kundapur mentioned that 140 crore is a boon. So what you say? Why? And to say that experts are advising. So it either in India the experts are more experts than the other countries, or the other countries' experts are more experts, and Indian experts are just compromising because of the logistic problems, and they are not giving their real expert advice. They are keeping in mind the logistic thing. What you say about this, Dr. Dilip Singh?
I see. Not only it is advisable, Mr. Lal, from the experts around the world, that mix and match, as Dr. Kapil has also pointed out, mix and match has proved that it is better. You get a better immunity, and we have already implemented this in Oman. We started with Pfizer booster for all the people, irrespective of the shot they have taken, irrespective of the vaccine they have taken, whether it is Covaxin, Covishield, Sinovac, Moderna, Pfizer. The booster only started with Pfizer, and we have given Pfizer to everybody, irrespective of the vaccine kind they have taken. Now, only the second AstraZeneca booster has come into the picture as recommendation. Now, the problem in India is absolutely logistic, nothing else. Whether we how best we can cover, how well we can cover, that's up to individual how to cover it. But the problem is, everybody knows the problem is our population. We are in a this is not by choice. This is what we have got. This is where we are. Whatever the amount of population we have to manage it.
Okay.
So the recommendation has to be according to the any medical any recommendation we give, it has to be according to the size of population we are catering.
Okay.
Now here we have a 5 million population. We cater according to that. If we have 500 million or you have 1,000 million people, the recommendation has to be accordingly, which can be catered to.
Okay.
See, today the government gives, okay, take it.
Yes.
But where is the vaccine?
Okay.
Where is the vaccine to give?
Yes.
So
okay.
it has to be according to the size. They will come. See, if the I would say that the government should be requested to booster not only the booster jab, but to booster the production also. Boost the production. Make more number of vaccines. Yes, boost the production. That will solve the problem. Then your recommendation will fall in line with the international recommendation. And I would say, Mr. Lal, our Indian brain is much better and is as good as Western. You can see all the heads Most of the heads of MNCs are Indians now.
But
So there is
no,
no
you
difference
are
in the
right,
brain.
Dr. Singhvi, but our brains are better, but they are not giving their frank opinion or the real opinion using their brain. Rather, they are keeping those things which are required. I don't know under what pressure, because they should give the real opinion to the public at large. Those who understand that, see, we don't have the vaccine. That's why we are not giving you the third or booster dose. That's why. Sorry?
The recommendation remains the same. Even the experts might be giving the same, but then the problem is you do not have the resources to manage it. You do not have the stuff on your hand to give.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Singhvi. You have made a point very clear about the resources and the logistics. My question to Dr. Kapil Rathi is, Dr.
I'll
Kapil,
take a leave, Mr. Lal.
Yeah, please. Thank you very much, Dr. Singhvi, for giving your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Kapil Rathi, now you have heard everyone, and they are very clear. Logistics, we don't have. And you also mentioned, whether you take it or not, Omicron, mild. So why we are emphasizing for vaccination, even for the second dose now? When Omicron is going to be mild, we will wait for the fourth one. If it comes, according to Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, it will come, it will be milder than this one also. So why we are wasting our resources? We are wasting our time. We are closing down, lockdown, night curfew, weekend curfews. Open everything, like UK is opening now. Open everything. Forget about that there was a COVID. Forget this 2 years write-off, and go ahead and let the light. Don't try to fool. I'm using this word very cautiously. Don't try to fool the public at large that these are the expert. No, this is not the expert, because I have done the research and the expert views are very clear everywhere that the booster dose has to be given after 6 months. If not, then there's no use, because now you require 2 doses. And secondly, it has to be mix and match. Now, what do you say about this, Dr. Rathi?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of questions, couple of issues here. One thing is very clear, that all our population, all eligible population has to be vaccinated with double shot. That is absolutely clear. There is no doubt about that, because you can't create a herd immunity by getting infected. Rather, we have to create it by giving a vaccine. That is for clear, because you will lose a lot of patients in that process of getting herd immunity because of aged population. India has not a younger population. We are a little aged population. One thing. 2, as you said, why booster is required, just go the UK way where they have said everything is there and there. Look, you can go that way. In fact, we were going that way only. It is only just Omicron has come up and, the things have changed. Otherwise, we were going that way only in the last 8 months or so. The people were liberal. In fact, today also they are very liberal. So they are not wearing masks or something like that. But yes, because you have to have the immunity to fight for the future infection, which is probably going to come. I know it's an end of pandemic. It is going to be an endemic, probably by end of this year. That is what we anticipate. That is how the chronology goes. But you require certain amount of antibodies and certain amount of the firefighting system in your body, so that it doesn't hurt you in a larger extent. I'm talking about society as a whole, not as an individual. Individual variation might be there. Instead of getting 3 shots also, I might get a severe disease. That is an individual response. It doesn't, but as a large population as a whole, you will require at least 2 shots, so that you prevent from so-called, the more dangerous variant like Delta, not from Omicron. I can tell you one thing. There is a good data. In fact, I have gone through all the data, because we keep on doing that. Omicron, after having Omicron infection also, your immunity doesn't, your immunity for Omicron doesn't last. You can still get reinfected with Omicron after 2 months. That is the beauty of this Omicron. But again, the silver lining is that the disease will be mild. So that is the only thing. So as a healthcare worker, as a doctor, what I'll try to summarize is that all our population, all the best population, whatever is there, or eligible population has to be vaccinated double. And then we think of booster shot, which will be there probably according to the change in the nature of the virus. 1, there has to be mix and match, that is for sure, because that will give the robust immunity, because 2 platforms come together and that will increase their immunity. 3, you have to target the population which is younger one, like from 10 to 18 years, because this is a large population. probably they will be more eligible or more, more robust in their immunity to fight for the future, which might, be there. Because now the virus, the nature of the virus is that it keeps on escaping, it keeps on changing the guard. So if they found that, adults are immunized, let's go to the children. So they'll jump to the children. So the problem is that they are going to get more disease in the children. And if the children are infected, they are in the family, they are in the circle, they go out, there is a schooling and everything, they'll infect more people. So this is how the chain of transmission is there. So you have to, categorically you have to, vaccinated all the vulnerable population. Then you have to go for pediatric population so that they don't become infected, because they have to live longer. So they have to create that immunity himself so that they doesn't get infected in the future. So that is how I see as
Okay.
But yes, be sure there will be viruses, there will be mutations which will be coming, but don't fear about that. I think at the bottom line is that you have to have a COVID appropriate behavior. That is very important. Please do that. And I think that is the best vaccine what we can get.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rathi. And last word, no, I think time. Okay, last word, Dr. Brahmprakash, any message you want to give? 30 seconds only, just 30 seconds.
My
any
message is that whosoever get opportunity, he should get vaccinated. That is number one. Vaccines have protected the people from, not from infection, but from the mortality, from death, from hospitalization. They should get vaccinated.
Okay, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, any message?
Vaccination is a must. COVID appropriate behavior, I've been telling, is a must for whenever there is a COVID or whenever there is a pandemic, whether it becomes an endemic or whatever it is. But there is no scare and it will not cause anything. Everything nature will take care of, because survival of the fittest is the nature's way of living, and we can survive it in our own ways, and we do not have to be panicked.
Okay, thank you very much. So today, viewers, we have seen how this pandemic and the vaccination, although government is trying their best, after all, we are 140 crores population, to vaccinate is not that easy, and and that too in a very, very short time. And polio is basically for the children, what we have done, and other earlier vaccination took time, but this time what the government is doing a remarkable job. But the problem is those who are not going to getting the vaccination done. That is one reason. And second reason is, if you are not taking even the precautionary, which is now open for all those who are eligible for 60 plus, and then who is going to be on the fault? Not the government fault. There is a difference between booster and precautionary. We understand because of the lack of communication, because the government is not giving the clear picture. Even the experts, our experts, whether the Niti Aayog experts or those doctors who are coming to the media every day and night, they are not giving the true picture. They should tell the truth that, see, we have a shortage of the vaccine. We cannot provide you the booster dose in time. We cannot do, but at least you do your COVID appropriate behavior to safeguard yourself. And one has to safeguard your own life. If you want your family, your community, your country to be safe, you have to be more responsible than the government and everyone else. If you are safe, everyone is safe. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Carunews, V4 Stream, Bharat Post News, Malnadu TV India, News 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor to bring to you every day new topic in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Tomorrow our topic is marital rape, a curse on Indian wives. And our panelists are Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, renowned lawyer of Western UP Mathura, Advocate Anita Mahapatra, Attorney Alliance Law from New Delhi, Advocate Gagan Gandhi, Managing Partner, Niti Nyay Law Offices, New Delhi, and Advocate Avishi Dhaka from Supreme Court, New Delhi. So please tune in for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you very much, Dr. Brahmprakash. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur. And thank you very much, Dr. Kapil Rathi, for enlightening all of us. And thank you all the viewers. But my appeal, as all our experts have appealed, please go and get the vaccination done if you are eligible in whichever category, and to do all those COVID appropriate behavior as government or the experts have already mentioned several times. Save yourself and keep healthy. Thank you very much. Thank you all of you. Thanks.